or an artist, or both, if you could work on any one of Jack's concepts today, you've got, they say, hey, you guys, what Jack Kirby concept would you like to do? What would you like to do?
Well, I know that Fantastic Four to me is almost a perfect comic book, those first 100 issues, so I'm not going to try to go in that area. I would like to, hey, maybe I can ask you guys for a favor, actually, since we're talking about it. Are any of you guys friends with Jim Morrow, or the Tomorrow guys?
I know him.
Well, maybe you could kiss his fanny a little bit. What I want to do is I want to do one of my, in my painted style, you know how they do a cover of different people ink and stuff? I want to do a Jack Kirby cover, and I've already been bugging him about it, and he's thinking about it, but to do some of the Jack Kirby artwork, like remember the real famous one of the Hulk, and he's kind of going like this, and then the legs coming up, and there's the jet firing missils behind him. Yeah. That one, I want to do that as an oil painting. I want to do it like Jack Kirby is painted by John Singer Sargent. Sure. I want to do Orion for the New Gods with that weird little tricycle thing that he flies around on. I mean, I want to do stuff like that. Yeah,
I'd like to see all of that.
Me too.
But I have to have a reason for doing it. I can't just throw it into the queue with everything else. I already work 7 days a week.
Yes.
I don't. But I would love. He's thinking about it, but I'm trying to push him over.
We were talking, we're Monsterama talking Kirby, and
would you like to see that? I know I would.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
And I have no interest in that whatsoever.
Monsters, New Gods. I probably would want to do an F. I'd love to do that one from what's the FF where the jet cycle is like lifting off. The Human Torch isn't in the picture, but Sue and Ben and Reed are there, and it's like all these little tiny mechanical pipes, all this kind of stuff, and you're looking up. How can we make an FF movie right? Read the comic book, look at the pictures, do that. Thank you.
I think we have a better chance of that.
Indeed.
Okay. So, sorry.
Now, see, I would be more than willing and eager to revisit the Fantastic Four. Well, I think the Fantastic Four that Lee Kirby run was phenomenal, and I think Dan Slott is doing a remarkable job of doing what I would like to do with Fantastic Four now. His Fantastic Four currently feels much more like the Lee Kirby era than anything they've done in the years since then. I wouldn't mind doing that, but I've also thought, I would really like to do something with Commandy again. I feel like for some reason DC they've forgotten what made Kirby's Commandy so good, and they've wanted to overcomplicate it so much. They did a recent 12-issue series where they had a bunch of different people who were brought in. Each person would do an issue and try to end it with sort of a cliffhanger and let the next team take over. But it seemed like they forgot who Commandy was. The whole goal here was to try to stump the next creator, much more than bring Commandy back to life.
Weird.
Yeah, for me, it would be the Demon.
Oh, yeah.
And I would pick up the Demon at the last Kirby issue. I'd ignore everything Alan Moore did, everything John Byrne did, everything that was done since Jack stopped. It'd be like none of that ever happened. I would just pick it up at the very end of that last issue and go from there.
In this day of horror films and superhero films, why is that not already being filmed as out there?
I think that to some degree they just haven't really thought about it because it's Kirby and people think, oh, shiny superheroes, but there is some amazing horror in there.
There really is.
The little fear creature, the monkey, the witch boy, the other witches who come from that other dimension and take the witch boy, and they look creepy as all get out.
There's some spooky stuff.
There's some spooky stuff. As a guy who writes horror, I could do you some horror with that. I mean, that's a comic I would love to write. So,
wow.
And Neil would draw it.
Okay.
And I would do the cover.
Yes, you would paint the covers. Yes.
All right, who's going to finance it? Anybody read it?
Unfortunately, we have to
get the beginning of the Kickstarter people.
We can't kickstart it. It still belongs to DC Comics.
Yeah.
I think, though, the obvious one is because it was the first that a lot of us saw was Fantastic Four. But again, I think, like Mark, it's like, how could I even touch that? How could I even try to think I could possibly do anything just half as good? I think that the funny thing is, the strange thing is, instead of one of the old classic ones, I think I'd like to work in the New Gods.
Yeah, okay.
And I found out for myself that I would love that because I worked on the Superman Adventures book for a while, for a couple of years. And I worked with Mark Avener several times, who, of course,
he's the Kirby guy.
Literally worked with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he
As a
did,
kid.
the issues that he wrote that I worked on, starred Mr. Miracle.
I remember that.
And it also had all the various characters, like Big Bard and such. And then a couple of scenes I got to work, like with Granny Goodness. And I
The
got
female
I get to,
Furies, did you get to do?
which?
The female Furies, Lashina and Stone?
I think one of them was in there.
I think
yeah.
one of them was in
Yeah,
there.
but then I also, of course, got to draw, Dark Side.
Yeah.
And after drawing those and working with Mark, I realized, God, I would love to draw these characters more often.
Yeah.
Even though I'm supposed to be drawing, it's a Superman comic, but
Sure.
I was having more fun drawing all the
The
Kirby
Kirby
characters
stuff.
in the background. So I think New Gods would be the one for me.
Excellent choice. Cool. We got
Until
about,
you do the Demon book, then
we do the demons, me and you. We got 4 minutes. Any questions? Sir?
I will say, y'all talking about how you got the Kirby comics. I know my introduction to Kirby was through Thundar the Barbarian, when I
Yes.
saw the credits. And I
Yeah.
thought, I've seen that mentioned in comics, and that's what got me to his comics. I always thought your thoughts about some of his animation work and designs he did.
I'm a huge fan of Thundar, and he did animation designs for not only Hanna-Barbera, but for Ruby Spears. I mean, he was all over.
I was glad they followed him on the
Yeah,
FF cartoon. It was like, okay, now this looks like the Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. He actually got to do except they couldn't use the Human Torch, but he still got to do he did storyboards, full storyboards. It's got much more detail than a storyboard has to have because it's Jack Kirby.
And Marvel later got the rights to take those storyboards and turn them into a comic, and Jack wasn't really thrilled about that because they were promoting it like Jack had drawn a new Fantastic Four comic for them, and he was a little bit disappointed because he said,
Wasn't
what
that
I do for
intense.
storyboards and what I do for
Not my
comics
best
are two
work,
different
That's-
things.
Yeah.
my goal is different, and I approach it differently, and he was very, so if you ever see that and wonder why it doesn't look up to Kirby standards, it was never intended to be a comic book.
Yeah.
I feel like when you understand Jack Kirby's artwork, so a lot of people start off with the story like, oh, I didn't get it, or it's this weird style. When it clicks for you, like you kind of use the term from gaming, level up as a comic reader, you just sort of see how he found the people in the universe behind the simple lines, like everything that's structured as comics, like the language. He took it from Anglo-Saxon to modern English, sort of in a way. Usually.
Very much.
Yeah.
Kirby's, the thing about Kirby is that people tend to forget because we're not as taken with this as we used to be. Kirby was a cartoonist. And to a large degree, Frazetta was a cartoonist. These are people who weren't trying to show you things as they were trying to show you things as they saw them, or as they thought they should be.
I brought in remember that giant book of pencils back, and it had the Fighting American on the cover.
Oh, yeah.
I brought it into art class in the late '70s. I brought it in and I put it out, and it was the shot of Orion beating the crap out of Calabac.
Yes, with Dark Side in the background looking at them,
And he's wailing on him, and when I opened it up, first thing I heard 2 or 3 people say, it's like, the anatomy on this is absolutely horrible. And it's like,
Did you hit them?
I Calabacked them.
Yeah, Calabac.
I Calabac-handed them.
Wait for you,
No,
Mark.
it was, but I said, don't you get it? The intent is completely there. And Gil Kane, there was an interview with him in one of those Tomorrow's publications where he said, Kirby didn't need to do the anatomy. He got away. It was his.
Yes.
He could put muscles where there weren't muscles, and nobody questioned it. And it was about explaining something to you, not saying, hey, look how good my anatomy is.
In my day job, I'm a draftsman, and I can tell you that Kirby's perspectives, they're totally wrong. They don't go to vanishing points, they don't do any of the things that perspectives are supposed to do, but it looks right. In Kirby's world, it looks like it's what it's supposed to do, and he freehanded most of that. That's another thing, you see some of his layouts and stuff. He wasn't sitting there with a ruler doing all, he's just drawing it. He's just sitting
Where
there
the
drawing.
rest of us have to do that. Where's the T-square?
Where's the T-square?
And the triangle.
We are lucky enough that Jack had the foresight in the late '60s at a time when an inexpensive, well, the least expensive photocopy machine was still as much as a car. Jack invested the money to buy a photocopy machine when he moved his office to California and moved his home to California and began drawing from his home. He had this machine so that he could save photocopies of all of his pencils, and we can see the strength of all that pencil artwork, because at that time people weren't inking on overlays, they were inking on top of the pencil work, and he wanted to save his pencil art.
Yeah.
And Jack, they invested in that machine. which was about an $8,000 machine, which is about the price for a car,
A
remember?
bunch of the stuff went to, Theakston got it, and there was a controversy. Did the Kirby people ever get their copies back? He had gotten a stack for some reason, I don't remember what the reason was, and he refused to return them or
It was
something.
just
No, it was actually the other way around. He claimed that, because I talked with Greg about it, Greg claimed that the pages of the original photocopies had been gifted to him, and he loaned them to the Kirby family for the Kirby Museum, and they wouldn't give them back because the Kirby family said they weren't gifted, they were loaned. They ended up staying with the Kirby Museum, so they are there. I have none.
For the world, it's probably a good thing,
Yeah.
so we can see them, but at the same time, I mean, Greg's gone, right? Didn't he
Yeah,
pass
Greg passed away last
So, yeah, I mean, it's sort of, kind of moot.
Guys, we are out of time, but I want to thank everybody for
I don't know,
coming.
we'll get Kirby Yes, I paid a hell of a lot more than I did for that $15 page of Jimmy Olsen. For every dollar I paid for the Jimmy Olsen, I paid $100 for the crane.
The animation drawings I have, I paid $10 a page for. But now the actual page, I paid $100 for that, which now I could
It's
get.
the old day of, do you remember Jim Ivy's cartoons?
Oh, yeah.
And I thought it was like the guys going in and wishing they
Saw
were
really good blue eye and buy more.
you know, at the time, and it's like, it's nuts.
Golden development. How you doing?
At the same time, I mean, I thought we were gonna talk monsters, I mean, we were talking about how there's like about 5% of the conversation.
Yeah.
You have to stand in the right spot.
Precisely. So, okay, but in Kirby's, if, you know, like, if you're doing a perspective, it either has one or numerous vanishing points.
Right.
Jack's doesn't have that. He may draw these buildings coming this way, these buildings going that way, this car's down here. It's just wrong. But it looks great. So does the house.